Welcome back. Let's talk about our first principle of economics. People face trade-offs. So remember, in economics, we assume that resources are scarce or limited in their nature. And economics is the study of how society allocates those scarce resources. Well, that scarcity leads the trade-offs. Let's think about this idea with an example. So in a day, there are only 24 hours available. What are you going to do with that time? If you spend a lot of time working, that doesn't leave much time for leisure. So we have a trade-off of more labor means less leisure. Or conversely, if we spend less time working and more time on leisure, then we can't work as much because we're spending that time on leisure. That's our trade-off. If we use our scarce resources for one thing, we can't use them for something else. So this is the dirty little secret of economics, that there are no easy answers. It's only a story about trade-offs and choosing which trade-off do we prefer. So where do these trade-offs come from? They come from scarcity. So other examples of this could be you thinking about whether or not you're going to go hang out with friends or play ball versus spend your time studying. Choosing to do one thing with our time, money, or energy means foregoing the opportunity to do something else. So our first principle of economics is that people face trade-offs. Scarce resources means that we cannot do everything, which drives choices and these trade-offs. So examples of this are time with friends versus studying, labor versus leisure, environmental protection versus producing more stuff. But let's talk about a very important trade-off in economics. And that's this trade-off between equality and efficiency. So this is a common trade-off that we run into when looking at potential policies. So let's define each of these terms, and then we'll think about why there might be a trade-off between them. So equality is when prosperity is evenly distributed among society's members. Everybody gets the same amount. No, this doesn't mean fairness, this doesn't mean equity, it means equality, equal. So suppose that we have 4 people and 4 oranges. Equality means that each one of those people gets an orange. Doesn't matter if they want it or not, doesn't matter if they enjoy oranges. Equality is this prosperity being distributed evenly across society's members. Now, efficiency is when society gets the most from its scarce resources. So this means we're using our resources, our tools, our time, etc. to its most productive use. We're generating the most stuff or enjoyment for ourselves with our scarce resources. But note, efficiency doesn't just mean that we use everything. It doesn't mean everybody's working. It means that everybody's working to their best use. So let's look at an example from a wedding. This is why economists don't get invited to nice places. So wedding cake is usually distributed equally, right? Each piece is about the same size. Well, what happens at a wedding? They bring the pieces of cake, they set them down in front of folks, and some of us scarf it up, gone. Some other folks take one bite and, that's very good, and they put the fork down. Differences of preferences. Is this an efficient use of that wedding cake? So here's an example from a wedding that I had an opportunity to attend. This is my plate, the empty one, and my wife's plate that has most of the piece of cake left on it. Here's one from some family members of mine. One family member well ahead of the other one in terms of finishing it. The other one has said, that's enough, thank you very much. Some more family members. Again, one person finished it, one didn't. And the poor couple that was seated at the table with us, their wedding cakes got pictures taken too. But you get the idea here, right? Are we using this cake to its highest and best use for generating value? No, it's distributed equally, but inefficiently. How could we use the cake more efficiently? Maybe give bigger pieces to the people that want large pieces. Ask folks, would you like a large piece or a small piece? So this wedding cake is distributed equally, but not efficiently. So back to society's trade-offs. Let's bring this to a sort of bigger picture, maybe more important use of thinking about this trade-off when we're thinking about efficiency versus equality. So an example of where we see this in policy is when we're making decisions about redistributing income from high income earners to low income earners. So if you've got high income earners and you've got low income earners and you take some from the high income earners and you give some to the low income earners, we've now narrowed this gap. The distribution has become more equal. But what happened to the incentive of the high income folks to work? If we're going to take their income away, we've decreased their incentive to work. And what about the low income workers who are getting income for not working? Well, it's decreased their incentive to work as well. So the problem with redistributing, what our cost is, our trade-off, is that it reduces the incentive to work. It's less efficient, but it equalizes the income distribution. So it's more equal. There's our trade-off. So when we're thinking about principle number one, that people face trade-offs, remember that trade-offs are a reality. They're just part of the world that we live in, and we need to learn to recognize these trade-offs if we want to make good decisions. Recognizing the trade-off doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue that option. Losing some efficiency doesn't mean we shouldn't redistribute some income. But recognizing the trade-offs leads us to make better decisions. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.